I kind of heard about the government shutdown a bit too late, and I was like, what? Like the government closed? Like, isn't this a big deal? Like, shouldn't everyone talk about it? Welcome to Soul Brothers with my dear friend Eno and myself, Simon, where it is our job to throw you into the Solana rabbit hole and show you around in our exciting and right now really scary ecosystem because prices are dumping.
Our mission is to take you on the latest and greatest so that you never run out of fun things to talk about. Simon, we were supposed to do this recording yesterday, but I had a little bit of a coinky dink at my house. I started a little fire in the kitchen, a coinky dink.
Right. And you're making fun of my words before we started streaming.
I wasn't making fun of your words. I was asking a question. What does bile bile mean?
I don't know what it means. Anyway, welcome to Soul Brothers. We are one day late with this show today. It is Friday, the 17th of October, and it is almost an emergency live stream because we're dumping right now in the past 60 minutes. I think between $250,000 and $500,000 worth of longs have been liquidated just in the past 60 minutes. And yeah, shit's going down literally because why? Actually, we don't know. There's no perfect explanation what is happening in the markets, but we're gonna try to make sense a little bit today. We're gonna talk about Solana price action as we do. We're gonna take a look at the charts as we do, just to not give you any financial advice, but to at least try to make sense of all this confusion right now, because it does look a little bit scary. If I'm being honest, we are definitely seeing fairly low Bitcoin prices. We're approaching $100,000 Bitcoin, so this is crazy. So definitely something to talk about. And then we're also gonna talk a little bit about some news from the Solana ecosystem. There has been some bullish news because we're the Soul Brothers, we're the perma bulls. We're going to give you some bullish news why Solana is winning against other L1s, and we're going to give some updates to the Solana ETF because it is supposed to be here already, but it isn't. So we're going to check in with that. We're going to touch on some ecosystem company updates from companies like Jupiter, Xplace, or Meteora, which who just announced their token, which is coming very soon. And then we're gonna top it off with a little bit of good old Ethereum versus Solana drama, because why not?
We will be covering, of course, market updates, some ecosystem updates, so how Solana is being affected by the government shutdown. There's many topics to talk about today. So, Simon, how about we hop into the coziest part of the podcast, your technical analysis. And right now, the charts, they are not looking very good, brother.
It's actually not that cozy, bro. I mean, I know what you're saying, but yeah, taking a look at this right now, we're on the 1 hour Solana chart here. And well, what should I say? Let's get rid of all these markers first. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can also see the screen share and you can take a look on the charts. And if you're listening to this on audio, just on Spotify or Apple Podcast, then don't worry, because I'm going to explain what's going on or down, because right now we're approaching the most recent low that we made after the Black Friday tariff news from Trump, and all the stuff that happened right after this. So we saw $173 back then for Solana, and right now we're at 176, 177. So we're approaching this again. Are we making a double bottom and go up from there? I have no idea, but we could. So this could play out in a double bottom here. We are historically approaching a very important resistance line, which is the yellow resistance line that has given support already twice on the 22nd of June, and it started on the 6th of April. And now we kind of almost touched this line again in the Black Friday dump, but we didn't touch it quite yet. And now we're approaching it again. So let's see if we're making a higher low once again. There's still a little bit of way to go, so we might drop a bit further here. I think 173-ish would be that resistance level. And well, what should I say? This is also based on the Fib levels and based on the Elliott waves here. This would also be, well, kind of the last resort right now to turn around here. We actually already retraced too much, so I guess we could take this second wave here and put it over there. So basically, this one here should be most likely be placed in a different spot right now, because we made a 1 here, and then we're right now on this wave 2 retracement level. But we have to take a look at the Fib levels here, and there's not too much breathing room already. We're already, like for wave 2, the last resort, really the very last resort to kind of still keep that wave count realistic would be the 0.886 Fib level. And that is a level that is usually rarely hit, I would say, in these scenarios. So the lower the levels on the Fib scale in a retracement, the higher the chance that we're actually going lower and not higher, and the lower the chance that the bullish scenario is going to play out. So that's why it's a bit scary right now to look at these charts. But zooming out, I think what is really interesting to look at is this one. This is the Bitcoin chart. This is the weekly Bitcoin chart. And on the Bitcoin chart right now, we have the 50-week simple moving average, right? And I talked about this before. Why? Because I think it's a very strong signal. And it is kind of playing out. And back when we were up here, I was like, no way, we're going to retrace that much, right? But we're literally on the way right now. And it provided really strong support a few times already, 1, 2, 3. And we always turned around, right? So first, we haven't seen the top yet based on any kind of technical analysis. Like there's no confirmation that the top is in. A lot of markers and signals are still pointing at one more high. And then we also have this line here that could provide another support. So as soon as we cross the 100 to 98K Bitcoin, this is when we should talk about bear market, but not before, right? So this is my firm conviction right now, that we can retest this line without problem. And yeah, I think we're probably getting really oversold here on the 4-hour chart. The Bitcoin RSI is literally below 30, which has historically, if you look at the RSI, whenever it dips below 30, there's at least a retracement, right? That happens after in the Bitcoin price, whenever this happens. So I think there should be some move to the upside quite soon, but we might not be done dumping, unfortunately, right now, because today is another Black Friday. Damn.
Yeah, that's 2 weeks in a row, my friend. What do you think is fueling kind of this negative sentiment, and why do you think the markets are dumping more broadly? Last week, I think it had very much to do with Trump's tariff war that he reignited with China in response to the restrictions they put on rare minerals. I think the Trump administration said that they're going to tack on an additional 100% tariffs, which for some industries would mean cumulative of 130% tariffs altogether for certain goods coming into the U.S. So just curious, like what's going on this week? What's your you got any conspiracy theories?
That's the thing, right? That's actually a good point, conspiracy theories, because what we like to do as traders is always look for a reason why something is happening in the market, and a lot of times it doesn't really matter at all, right? Like who gives a shit why the price is dumping? It's dumping. You just need to be ready to prepare to have a strategy in place. What you do with it, right? If you're the best strategy out there is obviously just buy and hold and wait until better times appear. But obviously we do have quite some listeners, and myself, I'm interested in a little bit of trading as well. Can be spot swing trading, can be low leverage perps. And can be 500x leverage on flash trade, whatever you want to do. If it tickles your fancy, go ahead. But in this market right now, I think we're just there's just too much uncertainty right now, right? So the big flush that we saw scared a lot of investors last week, and the flush we saw last week was a combination of a lot of effects, right? The tariffs, okay, whatever, they triggered it, right? The tariff news, they might triggered it, but then we had a lot of fuck ups on exchange levels. So that also created mass liquidations, and the price went lower. There were a little bit of a depack on USDE, on Binance. There was another thing really interesting to look at, which also led to a few liquidations that shouldn't have happened. Binance literally paid back people that lost money because their fucking exchange didn't work properly during that time. So there were a lot of structural, systematic failures in the crypto sector. That's one thing. That led to the big flush, and then that big flush now leads to investor sentiment that is like, are we, because the top isn't close, so people are right now waiting for the bear market, basically, which is the unfortunate truth. So and every time it dumps right now, people are like, fuck, is this it? Like, do I need to top out here? So I think this is what happens right now. There's too much uncertainty. Fear and greed index is around 30, 40 right now in crypto. which is a pretty low number. So there's just blood on the streets, and whenever this happens, the charts dump, right? Investors see this as an opportunity. So you can't catch the knife where it's falling, right? You shouldn't do that, but you can consider scaling in. Our friend Sol Big Brain is one of the infamous investors that just clip in hundreds of thousands of dollars whenever Sol goes below $200. It's probably a good idea. No financial advice, but like he never really lost money because he's not trading leverage. But whenever he has like in his mind, whenever Sol goes into a cheap level in an undervalued state, which he defined for himself kind of below 200, I guess, he starts buying. And so far it has been working out. So I think right now there will be buying pressure, right? Where nothing changed from 2 weeks ago, fundamentally. Nothing changed. ETFs coming, DATs are out there. Solana's, we're going to talk about it now, why Solana is winning. But Solana's winning.
Yeah. So like obviously long term we still remain very, very bullish. But the last couple of weeks have obviously been a little bit spooky for folks who have especially been trading on leverage. If not, they've been completely liquidated. So God bless you if you're having a hard time out there. Touch some grass and come back. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about some of the bullish things that are happening on Solana. And first things first, what we want to talk about is that Sol has surpassed BSC and Ethereum to become the number one blockchain by DEX trading volume in the last 24 hours. And man, oh man, the decentralized exchange war, let's call it, is starting to heat up. We touched on this a little bit last week. Obviously, Jupiter has reigned supreme for a very, very long time. But now we have new entrants in the space, one of whom is obviously Titan Exchange, a new player on the block that is doing very, very well, attracting attention on the timeline. And also, you might have noticed, Simon, that the Solana logo is now pink. Why is it pink?
Because we're just getting all the ETH apps that are launching on Solana. Why? Because there's a market. There's a market here. And Uniswap is it is the most prominent exchange, the most prominent DEX on Solana, here we go, on Ethereum for a long time. Uniswap has features like their own chain, Unichain. They have been around for years now in the market. They have had several product updates and iterations for the Uniswap itself. They pioneered a lot of technologies on Ethereum as well. And they have been so Ethereum centric for such a long time. And I literally know from some friends that work there or know the founder that the management team was a long time very strongly against going to Solana. And
I
I
did not
do
know
not
that.
know what changed. I don't know what changed, but I know for a fact that they had, like, for a long time, they wanted to be ETH first. How did that happen?
I
Why
think
did that
numbers
happen?
don't
We can
lie.
make
I
some
think
assumptions.
numbers
Yeah.
don't lie. Yeah, numbers don't lie. And like honestly, your fiduciary responsibility as a company is to go to where all the trading activity is. It's also worth noting that our friends over in Jupiter Exchange are actually powering Uniswap's swapping engine, from what I understand. So really, I don't know if it's fair to say that Uniswap on Solana is like almost a Jupiter skin. Maybe that's not the right way of thinking about it. But like that's how I very much perceive it, is that like all Solana trades on Uniswap are being essentially routed through Jupiter. But like, why would Jupiter allow for something like that? Well, because they have a whole audience of folks over on Uniswap land that we don't have access to. So it just makes a lot of sense for people to continue to use the UI that they know and love. That would be Uniswap users, but then to route the trades through Jupiter. So that's actually a huge win for Jupiter as well. It's not just a win for Solana; it's a win for Jupiter because they've earned them as a client. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, for sure. A lot of teams that are coming from Ethereum are using existing Solana tech, which is, for example, just Jupyter API, Jupyter routing. We've seen wallets do that. The latest one I know is the Zerion wallet. They did the same. It just makes sense because Jupyter already figured it out. So it's really tough to kind of you don't build this shit from scratch. Like this really tough, especially on Solana. If you're an Ethereum DEX, you know how shit works on Ethereum. But this here is new for you. You need a whole department to focus on Solana probably. If you want to build it yourself,
right.
it's probably not worth it. So yeah, question is like, why should I use Uniswap?
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it makes more sense for existing Uniswap users, but your point is very much taken. But this
Yeah.
also dovetails very nicely with the discussion that we had in the past about like why is Jupiter working with Fluid to launch Juplend? Like why is Jupiter working with Athena
Yep.
to launch a stablecoin? Like we're seeing almost like the inverse this time, right? Where it's like an
Mm-hmm.
Ethereum project coming to Solana, and so they're
Mm-hmm.
going to use existing Solana tech. But in much the same way, we are using the existing, I wouldn't say Ethereum infrastructure, but we are using the expertise that people in Ethereum land have for lending products. We are using the expertise that people in Ethereum land have for delta neutral stablecoins. So, like, truly, you're seeing a lot of cross collaboration between top teams because they're, quite frankly, the best at what they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. I mean, I'm happy that they're here. I welcome Uniswap very much to Solana, and we need more. We need more apps that migrate to Solana. It's a bullish sign for the ecosystem.
Yeah. We're also seeing some pretty bullish numbers, especially as it compares to like
Mm.
TPS on Solana versus Ethereum. So, like,
Yep.
just talking about like theoretical TPS for Solana, that's about 65,000 transactions per second, and for Ethereum, that's 13. Ethereum mainnet, to be very clear, is around 15 to 30 transactions per second. Your average TPS, though, like in real time, is going to be around 3 to 4,000 for Solana, which includes vote and non-vote transactions. I don't know whether or not we should really be all that impressed that vote transactions are a part of this TPS. But
Mm.
that being said, we for Alpenglow, vote transactions will now be done off-chain, which will
Mm.
help with reducing the block finality down to 150 milliseconds, which puts us on par with Web 2.
Mm.
And in Ethereum, the average TPS is around 13 to 20 transactions per second. And that, again, is only for the layer one. Peak TPS, though, during periods of high network activity on Solana, has reached over 100,000 transactions. So that's, and the network has been handling it very well because we've increased the compute units for each block from like 30 to 40 to all the way to 100. So during the flash crash, I believe the amount of CUs that were used at that time were about 60. So we're handling that quite well. And
Mm.
also the average cost per transaction still remains sub penny, whereas in Ethereum, in the most extreme cases, you're paying about $1,000 per transaction. But I think the median was closer to
Most of
about
the time.
100. So this
Yeah.
is just a very long winded way of saying is the numbers look good, Simon.
Hell yeah, they do. I mean, this is not new to us. we're
Yeah,
we just wanna hammer it down, guys. Like
yeah,
Solana's cheap, Solana's fast, Solana's the best place to attract all value transfer that happens on a global scale. Not just monetary value transfer, by the way. All value transfer. That's something I learned from the conversation with DFTV, with DK. When I asked him, why do you have a $10,000 soul target? This is insane. He was like, well, first of all, I don't have a time window. This can happen in the next, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. But I do have a conviction, which is Solana's going to capture all global value transfer. And that encapsulates everything. It's the global ledger, the database where value is going to be locked, where value is going to be transacted on and settled on. And this is a multi-trillion dollar market because it's literally everything. So they
yeah.
have like a really, really huge bull case for Solana. And
That's
why?
crazy.
Because of numbers like this, right? Because it works. More numbers, Give me more numbers. What else
More
do you have?
numbers. Oh yeah, no, I love to feed you more numbers like the Cookie Monster. Nom nom. So, in
Mm,
terms of real economic value, Rev, that's generated on chain, Solana leads that as well. So, just
hell yeah.
in Q3 of this year, projects on Solana have generated about $223 million in revenue. We are firmly in first place. You look at second place, which is Tron, and they're generating about let's say 160 million. So that's a gap
Mm,
about 50 million dollars in value. If you're wondering what the fuck is
mm,
going on in Tron land, it's mostly stablecoin transfers USDT. It still
mhm.
shocks me that they're able to generate
Yeah.
about 160 million dollars in fees. But yeah, there is no close third either. It's basically
Mm.
Solana way up in the lead.
And I want to comment two points here related to this whole REV thing or REF thing. One is I think real economic value, in short, REF, is something that Solana kind of coined, if I'm not mistaken. So it is a term that this ecosystem created. Maybe it was Foundation. Maybe I think it was somewhere in the Solana weeds. People just created that kind of value, and as a measurement as well, which is great. I think that makes a lot of sense. It is also something that we now own as a term. It's good marketing. Why? Because it's obviously very bullish for Solana, because what REV really represents is something similar to what the revenue of a traditional business is. That is REV for blockchains, right? Because it basically represents the total monetary value that users pay to transact on chain. So it can be used as a top line indicator of user demand and network usage, right? So user demand, network usage, that's what actually counts, right? User demand and network usage, and that is all inside of the REV discussion.
Yeah. I remember seeing, I think it was a CNBC interview over in Wall Street with Lily Liu, the president of Solana Foundation. And the interviewer, I think, was being a little tongue in cheek and almost like poking fun at Solana a little bit. But I actually thought he made a fairly good point, which is that, like, over in Solana, you guys are really good with coming up with nice little phrases. And if you think about it, it's true. Like, we only possible on Solana. Literally, your shirt is IBRL, increased bandwidth, reduced latency, ICM, Internet Capital Markets, and now REV, real economic value. Even Super Team has coined the idea of like it's GDP, but I forgot the exact terminology here. But it's like GDP for each super team. So, but I think that phrases are not just cute little marketing tricks. I think that they're ways for you to organize everybody towards core principles. Like if you have a very clear way of communicating your message and like what exactly does Solana stand for, it means that everybody can rally behind these concepts with the products that they build. Like it does inform how people think about the chain and the types of projects that you see. So it's more than just a simple marketing gimmick. It is also, I believe, a core piece of what makes Solana Solana. Like we are very good at attracting high quality builders. We're very good at constructing a narrative. Take that into contrast with Ethereum. And again, like I have massive respect for Ethereum builders, but it's like there's no guiding principles aside from max decentralization, sound money. Like they've had some unifying principles over the years,
for sure.
but they just aren't able to iterate and generate attention as fast and as often as we do. So I do think we are winning the propaganda war.
100%. Like product marketing, which is on a blockchain level marketing for Solana, right? That's the product. The product is Solana, the ledger. Product marketing is really, really good on Solana, and it has been since a while now. It is just a very strong brand. It's a very strong brand, and that is something I want to talk with the CMO of Solana about, which will be on the show very soon. So one of my talking points that I had in my mind to talk about with him was, how do you sell Solana? I don't mean dump on the chart. I mean, how do you sell Solana, the product? How do you sell it to people? How do you talk to Wall Street about it? How do you talk with, all kinds of stakeholders that should be active on Solana? How do you pitch it? What's your pitch? And I think Akshay, who's the CMO of Solana, is really good at that. He's really, because I think he's a lot of times the brain behind these narratives. I remember one presentation he gave on ICM when it was brand new. No one was talking about internet capital markets yet. And he gave a presentation on it, full like long pitch deck and shit. And I was like, damn, he's so good at selling something that sounds so difficult, but it is so easy to comprehend if you listen to the guy. Like my dad could have sat in that room and would be like, yeah, hell yeah, internet capital markets, that makes sense. Yeah, I should buy some Solana. So it's really strong product marketing what these guys come up with.
Yeah.
REV belongs to that.
I mean, it's elegant more than anything. They're able to take fairly difficult concepts and turn it into something digestible for just about everybody, all the way from your most serious DeFi builder to your mom. So moving on to other pieces of news, we now have 14,000 investors in Tesla, all on chain, and they're holding about $25 million worth of the stock. This is all, of course, powered by our friends over at XStocks. So there's a ticker called $Tesla X. And again, there's $25 million worth of Tesla X stock in AUM. And it's held by about 14,000 investors. Obviously, in the grand scheme of things, Simon, this is not a particularly sexy number. I mean, it's just 20. It's crazy, but yes, in the context of crypto, it's only $25 million, he said in air quotes. But it still is amazing, though, that anybody in the world can get access to high quality assets. Before I joined crypto, one of the things that I was very passionate about was this idea of banking the unbanked, right? And this is truly what that looks like, right? Like, usually you use a bank or a brokerage to get access to high quality financial instruments, but like, let's say you live over in Argentina and you don't have a home address and you don't have the requisite phone number that works with the system, then you're not going to be able to get KYC'd. And if you can't get KYC'd, it just means that you have to hold fucking Argentinian peso, which is dog shit. So please don't kill me, Millie. But but yeah, this is what I think banking the unbanked precisely looks like, giving access to high quality financial assets to anybody.
Yeah, 100%. And it's big numbers as well, right? We're not talking about peanuts here. Like, this is a lot of, for our I mean, for TradFi markets, sure, 25 mil is not that much, but having 25 million on chain in Tesla stock, it is just it's a sign, it's a sign that something bigger is starting, in my opinion. This number can 100x.
It should, and it will.
Yep.
And it just requires everyday people like you and me, and our friends and our family, to understand the value.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. To talk about it, to preach the gospel,
Sorry.
That's what we do.
Did I get a little preachy? My bad. But
what else are we preaching about? ETF news. When?
Yeah.
When?
Yeah, in slightly bearish news, I think this is probably the most bearish news of the week, aside from the fucking charts, is that the ETFs are going to be delayed. And the reason why they're going to be delayed is because there's a rotten orange in office that is really enjoying the government shutdown right now. And the Republicans have literally zero interest in, bringing the government back in session. In fact, the House leader, Speaker Johnson, has sent everybody from Congress home, at least for the House of Representatives, while the Senate sorts things out. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Of course, people should be in Washington, even if the government is shut down. That's what they're fucking paid for. Like, specifically the people who are responsible for shutting down the fucking government. They should be in Washington to negotiate that, but they have no interest in doing that. And so who knows how long the political standoff between President Trump, the Senate and the House Republicans, the Senate and the House Democrats will last. I'm not seeing any movement there. But what that means is, because the SEC is a federal institution, that they are not available to review or approve any of these Solana spot ETFs. So that kind of fucking sucks.
It is so ridiculous. I mean, when I kind of heard about the government shutdown a bit too late, and I was like, what? Like, the government closed? Like, isn't this a big deal? Like, shouldn't everyone talk about it? And this was like when it just started, right? So I don't know, for people who missed it, it was around the 1st of October. Like, in the week of the 1st to the 7th of October, the shutdown kind of started, and it all kind of got triggered by the Congress failing to pass a continuing resolution by September 30, which is, to my knowledge, about government budget, because Republicans are known for, pushing it as low as possible with their whole Doge initiative. They want to have less expenses, push the budget down, and then Democrats were like, guys, you cannot cut everything off. Like, we need to keep the budget. We need to keep some programs running. We need the money for, some welfare, whatever there is. And then both parties couldn't decide on a resolution. So, no decision. Government needs to shut down. Like, they can't decide on a budget. No budget. Things are being pushed forward. And now it's the 17th of October. And the latest news I have here is that Trump plans to release a list of eliminated programs. So that's something you wanna put out there. The shutdown enters now week 3 with no imminent end, which is ridiculous. And more than 800,000 workers are right now being, sent home, or at least paused, or have some financial issue by not being able to work or being paid.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, so Trump has made some statements saying that he's going to continue to pay the military specifically, which is an interesting choice. He wants his cake, which is the political weapon of a government shutdown. And he also wants to eat it, right? Which means, keeping the military funded. Where I think this gets really dangerous, Simon, and this is really a black swan scenario, but in today's polarized America, I think that it is a imminent possibility. As both sides become entrenched, by the way, a part of these fucking budget proposals is paying back our T-bill debt, right? And confidence in T-bill debt is in the government's ability to pay that shit on time every time. I think that there's maybe are there any examples of the government failing to pay treasury bill debt? I don't think so, right? Historically. And so it would be absolutely catastrophic to US T-bills, which are widely regarded as the most safe investment in the world. If the Republicans and the Democrats, use that as a political tool, and basically says, like, we won't pass the budget, like, we won't pay back our treasury bill debt until you give in to my demands about not allowing XYZ in the military or whatever. That's where I get actually really concerned. They're playing with the markets, and the consequences will be drastic for America. Like, we want people to think of America as a safe haven for capital. And that's just good for, I'm speaking as an American. I know that other global citizens might not give a shit about America's standing in the world of finance. But as an American citizen, that does kind of bother the shit out of me. And so anyways, long story short, government shutdown, bad. ETFs, not approved, not going to be approved for a while. When are we coming back? I don't fucking know.
There's really no timeline, right? I don't think it's going to be late for like a long, long time, because we're so close. They just need to get their house in order.
Dude, we're in the, you ever heard of the Tyson zone?
No.
Okay, so you know Mike Tyson, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and Mike Tyson famously bit off that one boxer's ear. I think it was Holyfield.
Yep.
Yeah. But anyways, so the Tyson zone is where someone is so crazy that if I told you a story where, like, Mike Tyson ate a giraffe, you might be like, yeah, actually, kinda, maybe. Even if it didn't happen, it doesn't matter, right? That's the Tyson zone. And so that's where I would like to rename that into the Trump zone, because I could tell you any fucking story about Trump, and you would be like, did that happen?
No.
I mean, I don't know, but I don't know. Like, maybe.
True.
Yeah. So basically anything is possible.
Yeah. All right. Anything is possible. What else is possible on Solana, because there's a few internal ecosystem updates and news we have as well that are not as bearish as government shutdown, because they're actually pretty cool. What's happening?
Yeah. So there is this really long essay posted by Cash a couple of days ago talking about all the changes coming to the Jupe token. Just to give like a high level overview as to what some of those changes will be. Number one, they will be scaling back the DAO. What that means specifically is that they will no longer be engaging in what he calls low leverage votes. All the votes will be very high leverage votes. So, for example, instead of voting on,
the logo,
what logo, or like what working group should be approved, which is a low leverage action, they want to focus it on high leverage actions. So that would mean like what to do with money. So a great example of this would be 50% of all of the funds revenue from Jupiter go into buying Jupe on the open market and then depositing it into a vault or a wallet called the litter box. And that money in the litter box is not meant to be touched for a period of 2 years. But that being said, there is a real discussion about what to do with those funds in the litter box. And should we continue to spend 50% of Jupiter's revenue on buying Jupe in the open market? So there will be scaling back the DAO only in terms of the types of votes that they're doing. But certainly the most high value votes will be put up to the community. Major change number 2, and this is a big one that people have been begging for a very, very long time. Even at Sanctum, we get these comments. The unstaking window for Jupe, in the past has been 30 days. And now that unstaking period will be reduced to 7 days without any penalty. This is a huge win, I think, not only for retail investors, but also institutions that would love to stake their Jupe and participate in governance and maybe even get ASR. But no, they're not going to stake for 30 days. And major change number 3, they want to burn the litter box. So again, that conversation, started because a lot of folks have been talking about what to do with those tokens. It adds a lot of uncertainty because what if they all get dumped en masse? It's not a trivial amount of tokens. It's 121 million tokens, which equals 1.7% of the total supply, or 4% essentially of the circulating supply. And of course, there are additional conversations that will be had about what to do with the revenue over at Jupiter. Will it continue to buy Jupe on the open market? And the last comment that I'll make, I apologize that this is a little long-winded. The tweet is equally long, is that they are going to treat token as a first-class citizen in their suite of products, right? So in the same way that they have goals, directions for Jupiter Ultra, for Jupiter Wallet, for Jupiter Portfolio, from JupeNet, literally all of these projects have, a long-term time horizon. What are the milestones? What are we doing with this project? What are the goals? The token hasn't had that. And so now they're going to treat the token very much like a product. So those are some really, really bullish changes to the Jupe token. I was still bullish and remain bullish on the Jupe token. But this just makes it absolutely clear that they're listening to their community and they're making the changes that need to be made.
I think it is always needed to treat the token as a product. So everyone who doesn't do that, not a good idea. So it's time for them to take it more serious. That is my little take here. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Obviously the token has fluctuated quite a bit over the last year. I think at certain points it almost hit like a dollar. So do you have the token up right now? Do you want me to pull up your window?
Yeah, you can pull it up. I actually saw the other day that it went down to 0.05, which is ridiculous. There was the Friday dump. Look at that wick.
Yeah,
this makes no sense.
Nuts.
0.05. Like my Jupiter chat rooms were like, what is happening? Like, how can this be possible? This is like almost the launch wick that we touched here on the Jupe chart. So yeah, that's like, there's a lot of voices right now of investors that are not so happy with the development of the price. That wick is obviously outside of the standard, but we've been dumping a while, right? And there's a very strong resistance here at 0.0 or at 0.3, 30 cents. That's where they kind of hold the price right now. Yeah, right now, obviously, the market, everything is red. So we're touching that level again right now.
It's crazy to me, like how well BNB is performing. Like I'm waiting for my Jupe BNB pump,
Right. I mean, Binance is a sex. It is, it's gobbling up. Basically, Binance is profiting from everything. They profit from upside. They profit from downside. They profit from meme coins. They profit from, like everything flows into Binance.
Yeah. Well, I think eventually I think what JupeNet is supposed to do. So we'll definitely see how JupeNet develops, and God bless the devs. In our next exciting piece of news, Simon, we actually have our first credit card on Solana, and that might make some people raise their eyebrows because they go like, bro, there's so many different card products. There's AntPay, there's Cast, there's Interlace. Like, aren't those all credit? Oh, Soulflare card, right? Like, aren't these all credit cards? Actually, no, they're debit cards. So, obviously, I don't have to explain how a fucking credit card works and why it's different from a debit card. But for some folks, especially those who are able to pay back the money that they spend, a credit card is a huge game changer, right? As opposed to being only able to spend, what's in your bank account. That being said, I am very much a proponent of using debit cards. I only use debit cards in my life, and that's just because I just genuinely believe in a philosophy of like just spend what you have as opposed to like
Mm.
borrow money against a credit card issuer and then like pay them interest on things that you couldn't afford at that time. Like that's actually kind of fucking nuts to me. Unless you're running a business, like that does not make sense to me. But I don't know what your take
Exactly.
is on
So
that.
there's good debt, there's bad debt, right? A
Yeah.
lot of people they are saying, "Oh, debt is bad," but it's actually the whole world is built on debt. The most wealth has been created on top of debt. So that is actually a really powerful tool, but not as a consumer credit. So you know,
Yeah.
spot on. The rates are usually not advisable. But what you can do now is pretty interesting because you can at least hold your crypto portfolio and spend against it without selling your tokens, which is a use case that is different. It's a bit niche because maybe I don't want to sell my bonk with and all that shit right now. That is, in down bad. Maybe I just want to hold on my portfolio. So you can hold on to your assets and you can still spend money with the collateral being the assets. And it can be a bunch of tokens. Like as you've seen, these guys integrated a bunch of tokens, not just Sol and USDC that you can use as collateral. And I'm the same as you. I don't need credit cards, but I fucking hate it. Like most car rental companies by now accept only credit cards for
Yeah.
deposit. Like no
Yeah.
cash, no debit. I'm like, who the fuck has credit cards? And then if you don't have a bank, like, or if you're not a guy that like if you're a crypto guy, then usually you don't have a credit card, and you only have like 10 different crypto cards, which are all debit. So for this use case, it's actually a good product because I do have one crypto credit card already, not Solana specific, but it is a similar product where you can do the same thing. You can switch between credit and debit with a toggle, which is really cool. So whenever I need to rent a car, I use that fucking card for the deposit. That's the only time I use it. I
Yeah.
don't spend money with it.
I remember one time, this was like in my probably like when I was like 26 or 27, because the legal age to rent car, maybe it's not the legal age, but at least the policy age that they'll let you rent a
Mm.
car in the United States is 25 years old. Is that true in Germany and other parts of Europe?
There's definitely a lot of places in Europe where you can get the car starting with 18, as long as you
I
have a
see.
driver license.
I
Yeah,
see.
price
Well,
might be different.
in the US, it tends to be you have to be
Mm,
25 years or older
mm.
to get a rental car. And I remember like one of the first times I ever did it, I didn't know this rule. I didn't realize that you had to have a credit
No
card.
one knows.
I didn't own one. So I
Exactly.
had planned my entire trip around renting this fucking car. I land in SFO. I go over to Avis or Hertz or whatever budget or fucking car rental company, and they're like, "You need a credit card." And I'm like, "Motherfucker, what? Like, I got money, bro." Like, and they're like, "I mean, like,
Exactly.
who knows?" And I get the policy. The policy is that like if you run off with the car, then we can charge the
Mm.
credit card. We cannot do that with a debit card. So like, I understand why they do this, but it is a big fucking pain in the ass. When deepin car rentals, bro. Um,
I mean, this is the first step in the right direction. You can keep your assets in crypto, and you can use your soul as collateral against your loan that is your deposit for your rental car. Thumbs up.
yeah. Yes. Thumbs up. In other exciting news, in the kind of Jupiverse, obviously it's not the same company, but it's owned by the same holding company, Raccoon Labs. And so Meteora, everyone knows that their TG is coming up really soon, Simon, like in less than a
Yep.
week, October 23rd. That is the
23rd.
official date. But just like all things in crypto, a lot of details get ironed out, in the last few weeks leading up into TGE. And so there has been an update to the Met token tokenomics. So
Mhm.
I think the biggest change is that the original 20% Mercurial allocation is now split between 15% to Mercurial stakeholders and 5% for the Mercurial Reserve. The Mercurial Reserve will be considered as circulating supply, but will not be released at TGE. Simon, are you familiar with the history of Meteora and Mercurial and Jupiter and like how that all started?
Not at all. I have no. Actually, the term mercurial is quite new to me.
Yeah. So Mercurial was actually a Meteor's original name, and as I understood it, it was more of a stablecoin DEX. So that was the original idea. It was Ben
Hmm.
Chow and the rest of the Mercurial team that kind of like split off from Jupiter. There was a
Mhm.
period of time, believe it or not, where Meow was a non, which is just like a crazy period. I remember the first time I met Meow, I didn't even know who he was because he
Mm-hmm.
refused to tell me what fucking project he worked at, and like nobody knew who he
No.
was. Very quiet dude. Like obviously a few folks knew, but he would not tell people what project he worked on. And now he's like super public, which is like super, which is very weird to me. But
Yeah.
at that time, there was this kind of split where Ben Chow used to be the head of Jupiter. He was like the face, or at least he was the face of Jupiter for a very long time. And then they
Mm-hmm.
decided to split all under the Raccoon Labs kind of like holding company.
Mm-hmm.
So then you had Meow and Xiong that went on to kind of like work and own on Jupiter, and then you had Ben Chow
Mm-hmm.
and gang work on Mercurial, which rebranded to Meteora, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so what he's referring to in these and by he I'm talking about Sen. What he's referring to in the Mercurial tokenomics here is the original investors of Mercurial, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before
Yeah.
Meteor was even a thing. So that is what people should be aware of: is that Mercurial stakeholders will finally be made whole, and
Mm-hmm.
also it seems like that's why they have changed the tokenomics to be 20% Mercurial to 5% to stakeholders and 5% to Mercurial Reserve, because I mean 20% is a fucking lot, and it's quite frankly
Mm-hmm.
like almost like half of the circulating supply. Just about
Mm-hmm.
like 30, like it's quite a bit. So
Yeah.
people might be a little spooked, quite frankly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're looking at a multi-billion-dollar valuation here. I think, isn't it like 4 billion or something in the pre-market? Like, I saw last time I
Yeah.
checked.
Is it 4
For
billion in the
Ethereum.
pre-market? Jesus Christ.
I mean, I don't really know what this token is, but it's probably wrong. But yeah, I think it's definitely it's going to be a $1 billion token, right? That's in my opinion quite obvious.
Yeah.
And if you have 20% of that, it's quite a lot of money
Yeah.
in your pockets, in your allocation. And I think the same happened for Jupiter. Like the Jup token also was allocated to investors, I guess, from Mercurial or whatever was before Jupiter, like the very first thing. My only worry is that these guys bought in at very low valuation of these companies. They made a huge return on the money now, and they will sell quite quickly. I think
Yeah.
this is my opinionated view on why Jupiter is also tanking sometimes a bit more than we thought, because there was a big chunk of tokens allocated to very early investors that have a huge profit, and they all sell as soon as they can.
Yeah.
So that's quite a bunch of selling pressure. And this is not facts, by the way. This is just me assuming things, right? So don't take this as a fact here.
Yeah. Yeah. So God bless our jute bags. Moving on.
Mhm. Yes, yes.
So there was a little bit of drama this week because the Ethereum Foundation posted the top 10 ecosystem by new developers. And you can see here that Ethereum
That's
is
funny.
listed as the top ecosystem for new developers in 2025, with about 16,000 devs. And Solana famously only has like 69 devs, which apparently has grown quite a bit to about 11,000 devs. And then Mert had a very spicy take over the last couple of days, and he was like, "To compete with Solana, one must combine hundreds of chains, hundreds of off-chain rollups, none of which are stage 2, with different state and liquidity." Which I think just about sums up how we feel about this graph. It's obviously ridiculous if you look at the amount of logos that are included in the Ethereum ecosystem in order to aggregate all of these new developers to the ecosystem versus
Mm.
everybody else. It is a bit of an unfair measuring stick.
I mean, I have a very sophisticated take on this chart, and actually, I'm quoting my dear friend Matja, the super team lead from Balkans. You can pull up my screen. You see it? So for everyone who's not seeing the exactly. For everyone who's not seeing the screen right now, Matja just posted a long line of ha 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 when he saw that there was no further comments on that chart, because of the same reasons than Mert pointed out here, and you as well. Like it's just we're having like 70% of the Ethereum box here, and we're just one fucking chain, and these guys are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mentioned and more, and the more is like 50. So
Yeah.
what to say?
Ha 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 ha.
That's the take.
In other news, we have a really, really cool video that performed very well this week. I'd love for you to tell me whether or not the people here in this video look familiar. Do these people look familiar to you, Simon?
I think so. It might be my dear friend Solquix and his friend on Solana, Simon.
Yeah, maybe.
It's very funny video, by the way. Yeah, big shout out to Island DAO for letting us film there, and big shout out to Skyrise for filming it, and even bigger shout out to Caveman for editing it. So yeah, it's a really nice little fun clip to announce this really sexy card that we're seeing right now on the screen here as well, which is the Solflare card that will let you spend your stablecoins directly from your Solflare wallet. You don't have to send it anywhere. You can spend your money non-custodial. And to get your hands on that card, you need to join the waitlist, because it is right now in a waitlist stage. But the good thing about the waitlist is that you can actually earn money from signing up, because there's $100,000 prize pool that will be raffled between everyone who signed up to the waitlist. So if I were you, I would head over to Sol Brothers, to solflare.solbrotherspod.com, and there you will see the waitlist sign up. And if you sign up through that link, you'll get a little welcome boost, because the more points you have in that leaderboard from referrals or joining through ref links, you have better chances to win a part of that 100,000 USDC that is up for grabs. And then this is just a side fact. The actually exciting news is that you can spend your money out of software with a card very soon.
Yeah, I think that's something that folks don't understand is super interesting about the Solflare offering versus any of the other cards in the market. Is that you do not, and I have to repeat this one more time, you do not have to transfer your stable coins to a different product. Like, I'm not saying that that's a deal breaker for everybody, but it means that you can self custody everything. You own the stable coins, you spend the stable coins straight from your wallet. That is a huge value add. And I can't wait to get my hands on that Solflare card.
Yep, same. I mean, I'm a big fan of Cast. Don't get me wrong, Cast. I love you guys. Thanks for being who you are and for being very accommodating. But it is definitely an upgrade. It's a feature upgrade to being able to just spend out of your wallet. It's not difficult to send your money to Cast, but there's obviously always an element of prioritizing self custody in crypto, because that's why we're here. Like, we want to take we want to control our money, right? And Solflare is not owning your money. It's a non-custodial wallet. They cannot do anything with that money. Cast can block your account, technically, if they have to, right? If someone tells them to block your account, they need to block your account. At the same time, Solflare is just, you're safe. It's your safe haven. It's your castle. It's your fortress, and it will hold your funds strong. So, yeah, you might want to consider getting that card.
You know, another phrase in crypto I've always loved is not your keys, not your crypto. That always felt like super crisp. Like that was very nice.
Yeah.
But that really informs, I feel, kind of our ethos in this space, is this feeling of self-ownership, self-sufficiency.
Yep.
Obviously, that comes with trade-offs. People are getting rugged left, right, and center. There's amazing tech that's being built right now to address that. Sharding is one of them, as well as having different approvers for transferring funds, multi-sigs, all that helps a lot with preventing rugging. But in principle, though, it's great that you can spend your crypto and self-custody it yourself. You don't have to trust a centralized entity like a bank. Moving forward on with more very, very cool updates. We talked on Monday about a new update in the SNS governance ecosystem. It is, of course, the ability to buy CJK language domains. So CJK stands for what, Simon?
China, Japanese, Korean. Is that right?
Yeah, but could you do it with a Trump accent?
I cannot. Why would
China,
I do a Trump accent?
Japanese, and Korean. Yeah. So sorry. It's been a long day.
Go ahead.
But yeah, the long and the short of it is that obviously the Chinese, Japanese, and Korean languages are very fucking different than Roman characters. So oftentimes we are able to say or write things in 2 or 3 characters. that's great for Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. It's also horrible for pricing structure, right? Because 2, 3, 4 character domains in English are actually very, very valuable because they're very limited characters in the Romanic alphabet, the Latin alphabet. So it makes sense when you CJK literally has like thousands of characters, thousands. It's not like 27 or what. I forgot how many letters there are in the alphabet. I am very dumb. But anywho, there is a governance proposal on Realms, which is the best governance platform on Solana. And what you got to do is deposit your SNS, and you can use that SNS to vote on changes in the pricing structure for CJK domains. If memory serves me correctly, the price of 2 character domains is like I think. Oh man, I don't want to fuck this up. Let's look at this proposal. That would just be easier. Community voting, looking ahead.
I think the prices are not part of the discussion.
They were.
Oh, okay. You mean this one? Okay. Yeah, to reduce it to 128.
Right. So current pricing structure is $700 for 2 character, $640 for 3 character, and $160 for 4 character. For CJK, a major price reduction for 2, 3, 4 character domains. So down to $168, $128, and $48 respectively. The pricing for 1 character domains and 5 character domains remains unchanged, right? So as we discussed in the last podcast, once this governance proposal passes, I will be buying Shiba.Sol.
Let's do it. Shiba. The one vocabulary that I learned in Korean. Awesome.
In other SNS news, it's actually like, I love it when our sponsors work together, Simon. What the fuck is going on over here?
We have a little collab going on. I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward because Flash Trade is just making use of .sol domains across the whole platform. So that is just it's the SNS way, right? They're trying to get their domains integrated with all the great protocols in Solana, that whenever you log in with a wallet, it actually says your wallet and not your ugly pub key. So when I log into Flash Trade, I'm seeing my .sol domain in the right corner and not the pub key.
I think one of the reasons why SNS is so successful at getting their tech integrated with all the platforms is not simply because it makes sense, which it does, by the way, but also because I did not realize how strong the SNS community was until like we signed them on as a sponsor, and they just show up in droves. So what SNS is able to do is funnel their users to different protocols. And so like not only are they doing what makes sense for the protocol, which is to replace these ugly pub keys with aesthetically pleasing and easy to memorize domains, but also they're getting new users through the SNS community. So very bullish on this partnership between SNS and Flash Trade, and we won't stop until we see .sol just about everywhere. And last but not least, the thing that we're covering for today, how we're ending today's show, is Flash Trade. Staking Epoch number 6 has ended for the FAF token.
Yes, sir.
FAF, of course, is the native token of the Flash Trade platform. And if you stake your FAF, then you get, is it 50% of protocol revenue, Simon?
Yes, sir.
At the end of each staking epoch. So, you can earn, depending on your size, a couple hundred, maybe even a couple thousand, dollars in fees through the FAF that you stake.
Yep. The cool thing is that if you stake your FAF, you get revenue share, which is actually paid out on a daily basis in USDC. So the revenue share is always being paid out. So every day I can claim a couple dollars of rev share if you have your FAF staked. And then additionally, you will also get epoch-based incentives in FAF. So this one is the one that just ended. Epoch number 6, the FAF rewards have been paid out. So usually it ranges from, depends how much you stake, but if you stake a significant amount of FAF tokens, let's say 5 digits, then it's already around $100 per month that you're getting in incentives. 4 digits, sorry, 4 digits. If you have a 5-digit amount, lower 5-digit amount stake, then you can get around $500 per month. If it's like a 15, 20, 25K check of FAFs staked. So it's a pretty good passive income. And besides that, obviously the FAF holders are also holding onto the token because perp dexes are hot and flash trade right now is fairly low valued compared to some of the other perp dexes we have on Solana, while doing an equally good, if not even better job, because they have low fee structures, and pretty good tech and shipping constant updates. So interesting. Personally, very bullish on the team. Not only because we're sponsored by them, also because I'm a user and I like what they are cooking generally. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, let's call it a day for today for the Soy Brothers pod. We've done another hour here. There's so much more we could talk about technically. I have like a bunch of things on my mind right now that I would love to discuss as well, but it is difficult to squeeze it all in a short attention span. We're already over an hour. So we hope we gave you a good update on everything that happened. If these long forms are too long for you, then work on your attention span or consume some short form content, because we're posting on Twitter, on Instagram, and on YouTube every single day with short forms. So make sure to check them out and subscribe to our channel on YouTube as well, and follow us on X. With that being said, thank you so much for joining the Soul Brothers at yet another one, and we'll see you next week with the latest and greatest and an update on the markets.